Hello, we are on lesson 8, and this week your focus is information literacy and academic resources. So when you have to write a research paper or a paper for a college course, you'll have many of those, making sure that you know how to research and find articles that are supportive and that you can rely on. I hope you learn a lot this week. I know learning how to search and knowing how to narrow it down to what you need is something that I think is valuable and you'll use all throughout college. So pay attention and hopefully you can take a lot away. I just want to walk over our application activity because every semester I have students that do this wrong, so listen carefully. You are going to go to Deseret News website. It's a local newspaper here in Utah. You're looking for an article, okay? So you're going to go to their search engine, and you're looking for an article that gives more information about something we've learned so far in this course. So that's where I want you to really remember that number one, discussed in an earlier lesson from this course that you want to know more about. I always have students that look more about weight loss or want to learn more about the latest mission of NASA. And that is not something we've learned so far in this course. So a place you can go to see, if you go to content, you'll look here on the left side. It'll show you the different topics we've covered. Disciple leadership, lifelong learning, academic planning, career exploration, decision making and goal setting, on time management. So look for something within those topics that you want to learn more about by reading an article from the Deseret News. It's a newspaper. So it explains that you'll download the template and it tells you where it has a link to the website you need to go to find your article. Then you're going to answer questions on the template about your article. So let me pull up that template. Okay, let's see if we can see all this. One thing I want you to always look at, right here. Oh, it's not what I have because of this stuff. Write 2 to 3 sentences to answer each of the questions. I always look for at least 2 sentences in order to get full points and then deduct it. There are some that it's impossible to. So in your own words, write a summary. You can definitely need to do that in 2 sentences of the article. We've learned about summary writing last week. Make sure in your summary you have the author, the title, and why the author wrote the article. Then where it says, do you agree with the concepts? Do you agree with the author? Instead of just writing yes or no, you need to look at this last part. Why or why not? If it's yes, because I can relate, I've had that experience, whatever it may be. Or why not if it's no. So don't just put yes or no, put yes and then say why, because make sure it's 2 sentences. Once again, on number 3, some of these you can't do 2 sentences. What's the author's name? You just need to put the author's name there. So use your judgment to determine when you can do the 2 sentences. What level of education did they complete? Now you'll realize, you might think, well, I have no idea. So you need to read these directions. You have to evaluate the article to make sure it's reliable. It's not just a made-up article or coming from someone that has no experience. So, like it says here, you need to use the internet search strategies that you learned earlier in this lesson, since it's an application activity. It's in the post-gathering folder, which means you will have done some learning up to that point about search strategies. Use that to have an internet search on your author. Learn as much as you can about that author, like what level of education they completed. So for that, it might be a master's degree. If you know the university, you can include that. You may not necessarily have 2 sentences. Is their degree in a relevant content area? So you go ahead and answer that. Is it related to what they wrote about? What experience do they have? That's something you could write 2 to 3 sentences on. Is this author a credible source? And so that's another one. You could maybe say yes, because, and so it could include 2 sentences. Then it has questions about the article. And it will tell you when it's just a yes or no answer. And so you may not need to include that 2 to 3 sentences. So that is your application activity. Just a reminder, it needs to be an article that relates to something we have learned so far in this course. I think that's really the bulk of it. I try to, the grading that I do, I don't, as you probably have noticed and I've explained, I don't grade every single thing that you turn in. There are some things that are automatically graded by the computer. I do grade the listening and speaking logs, one by one, the application activity, the vocabulary quiz for your writing, and the listening practice. So I want you to look at the feedback that I'm giving. I gave that video so that last week, so watch that to see where you can see this feedback I'm giving. And I don't give it on all assignments, but the ones that I think are most critical for you to receive feedback. And I'm giving feedback either in the big note on the assignment or in the rubric. So look at the rubric if you have points deducted and you want to know why. If you have any questions about points that were deducted and I wasn't very clear in my explanation, email me. I would love to answer any questions you have about how I graded your assignment. I hope your week is wonderful, and as you learn more about this, you can apply it throughout your college career. And we'll talk to you later.